from 12:15 to 12:40, Gonzaga's locker room will be open. And from 12:45 to 1:05, the head coach, Mark Few, will join us here in the main interview room. Thank you, Jesse. Following Coach Few's news conference here in the main interview room, we'll have the AP Coach and Player of the Year news conference. That's at 1:15 p.m. At 1:50 we'll have head coach Dana Altman of Oregon. At 2:15, from 2:15 to 2:40, the North Carolina locker room will be open. And from 3:05 to 3:25, we'll have the head coach Roy Williams in here with us. And then from 3:30 to 4 p.m., NCAA President Dr. Mark Emmert will have a news conference in this room as well. So in just a few moments, we'll have Frank Martin. He'll be here from 11:15 to 11:40. A few reminders, if you're joining us here in the main interview room, please silence your cell phone. Take a moment to check that it's on silent or vibrate. Please refrain from the use of any kind of flash photography. No video recording devices, including handheld cameras, mini cameras, mobile phone cameras, camera phones, etc., are permitted here. You cannot record video for later publication. You cannot record video for social media live in this room at all. Actually, you can't record social media live video anywhere in the University of Phoenix Stadium during the Final Four, during any of these days from now until Tuesday morning. Just found that out, so I thought I'd share it with all you guys. Cannot go live on any social media platform. Satellite information is available with the gentleman from Hammond Communications toward the back, or the ladies from Hammond Communications as well. I have the satellite info up here if anybody needs it. And we have 4 microphone stewards here in the big room. If you have a question, just raise your hand, and one of our microphone stewards will make their way in your direction. Please remember your name and media outlet before stating your question, and we'll have Coach Martin join us in just a moment. Thanks. When's he available? Oh, yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Oh, I highlighted the wrong thing. 11:50 to 12:10, Coach Martin will be here. 11:40 is already over with today, no matter what time zone. Oops, I got confused on the time zone. All the news conferences are live on Facebook, and they're live on YouTube as well. So we're actually on right now, even though we didn't, even though we're not on, we're actually on right now. So. Hi, Jesse. Okay. Hey, Coach.
How are you?
Doing great. Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask you a drink?
Yes, I apologize about that.
We got it. We're 1 for 1 though so far.
Ooh.
There you go. We're joined for the next 20 minutes by the head coach of South Carolina, Frank Martin. We'll ask Coach Martin to give us a few opening thoughts, then we'll take questions.
Unbelievable, the last 4 days or so. Just incredible. I've tried real hard to keep our players in the right place, get them focused in on everything that matters. But every time I've got 5-10 minutes to myself, I just think back at everyone that's so much better at this than I am, how many coaches have helped me in my career, how many guys I've sat and listened to and respect the heck out of that never had an opportunity to lead a team to the Final Four. And so I'm extremely grateful, excited, and I'm trying real hard to keep our players focused where it belongs, which is the opponent and us playing to the best of our capabilities.
The first question for Coach Martin is going to go over here on the right side. Dana. Let's go to that second row real quick. David, we'll get back to you in just a moment. We're going to go to Dana first, though. Right over here, please.
And Frank, if you could just update us. Emily said Sindarius didn't practice today. He's not feeling well, and what his status is going forward as well.
Yeah, I've got a bug myself. Luckily, I don't have to play. he had a little body temperature last night when we landed, and he was a little better this morning, but I kind of told our trainer, just feed him fluids, do what doctors do, and let him rest rather than stress him right now. He's our most intelligent player, and I don't say that demeaning the other guys. He understands basketball at a high level. He does not need to be on the practice court to understand what we're doing.
All the way to the left side, left of the aisle.
Hey, Coach, Jeff Gravely, WRL in Raleigh, North Carolina. Can you explain your relationship and friendship with Chris Corchiani that ended up landing Tommy on your squad?
His dad, may he rest in peace, was just an unbelievable high school coach, and he and my high school coach were very good friends, and they coached AAU ball together. And Gabe, his older brother, he was a junior when I was a senior in high school, if I remember correctly, and we all knew one another. And I tell Chris all the time, we were playing open gym in 1984, and it was the time in my career where I had a chance to make the junior college team and been playing the best ball I ever played. And I went to block one of his shots, and he kind of stuck his caboose on me as I landed and tore my ACL. And so I tell him all the time, not only did he end my aspirations to play, but I'm also thankful because that started my coaching career. And Chris and I, over the years, our teams had incredible games against each other, just unbelievable games. What a competitor he was. And when he called me, he said that Tommy had applied to South Carolina. Yeah, I said, okay, so what do we need to do? And he said, well, he told me that's where he's going, and he wants to have a chance. And I said, he got it. And, Chris is phenomenal. Chris is a great human being, and I can't say enough about his dad. Gabe Corchiani Sr. was just, I remember being a young high school coach, and a lot of people would get frustrated because Gabe loved his sons so much. I never understood that one, because as a father, I'm going to promote and love my children as much as anyone out there, and I always respected him for that.
Up in the front on the right side, David.
David Cloninger, the state. Frank, you mentioned about trying to keep the guys focused where they is. This whole run has been they've been playing or not paying attention to the pressure. So just how hard is it to kind of keep their mind on the game and not all the pageantry going on?
Yeah, we Dave, we don't. I'm not one of those guys that believes in pressure when you're playing a game. I don't. I said this a long time ago. I'll say it again. You know what pressure is? 35 students, 27 desks, 18 textbooks, 180 days. That's pressure. You got to educate every single kid in that classroom for 180 days. That's pressure. I don't know. Maybe I'm too dumb to understand what pressure is in sports. I get it. We're playing a real good team. We're playing on the biggest stage of them all. I understand all that. But we got to worry about ourselves, and we got to worry about keeping our ears to the right voices. We have to focus on all of us doing our jobs. I told our guys after we practiced on the stadium, I was going to say the stadium court. I don't know what you call that. That's unbelievable. It's a monster out there. I'm just glad I got a stool. I was scared I was going to fall off the court there. But I told our guys, I said, listen, man, we never once have we ever spoken about, well, this opponent is this or that guy's real good. We speak about what we have to do to win. That's what we talk about every single day. And I said, don't be the guy that doesn't do their job to prevent us from having an opportunity of staying here until Monday night. Focus in on doing your job. And if at the end of the day our job is not good enough, there's nothing to be ashamed of. But, we're not playing the arena. We're not playing the tournament. We're not playing the Final Four. We're playing Gonzaga. So we have to focus in on doing what we have to do to figure out a way to win that game.
To the left of the aisle, Nicole.
Nicole Auerbach, USA Today. Frank, the other three teams here are similar to yours in that there's a lot of upperclassmen, there's a lot of experience. What do you think it says about the tournament and college basketball that, these teams have made it to this point?
I think it's like that every year. I really do. Everyone falls in love with the one-and-done phenomena. I get it. I coach them too. I'm lucky that I started my career with two of them. It's part of what we do. But there's a big difference between 18-year-olds and 22-year-olds. I know there was with me, and I know as a high school teacher, when they left my classroom at 18 and they came back 2 years later to say hello, they're a completely different human being. I know as a college coach, the conversations I have with my seniors are completely different than the conversations I had with the same guy when they were freshmen. It's just, there's a maturity factor. The older we get, the less we give in to the emotion of a moment, and the more we stay focused in on what matters, which is the moment that we're in, so we can act the right way and perform and think the right way. And I think that's why the older teams usually figure out a way to make it to this stage in this moment. That's why I don't have a lot of experienced guys on my team. That's why the leadership of our team, I've praised it the way I have, because those guys have been just as good as I've ever had. Their willingness to help so many freshmen and first-year players has been incredible.
In the center.
Karen Kraus from the New York Times. You have said that at heart you're still a high school math teacher.
Mm-hmm.
How? What do you mean by that?
I'm an educator. My job's not to pay attention to the scoreboard. My job's to help the young people that are put in front of me so I can help them become better human beings in life, to help them understand. I'll give you a quick example. We lost at K-State to Missouri, and I think I said this yesterday or the day before. It's just stuff that I reminisce about. And we were both top 10 in the country. And we're national TV game. I walk in, and there's a room like this, and there's a whole lot more people there than there are right now. And the first question out of a gentleman's name was like, now that you lost, do you think that you can get your team's attention? You know, and I kind of felt like saying, you can't be this, you know what. That's what I felt like saying. Both teams are top 10 in the country, and it's a one-possession game that's won in the last 10 seconds of the game. It's not because the team's not listening to their coach. But the good Lord dropped a thought in my head, and I said, if I were to follow your logic, then I would only teach my students on the days they fail the test. And it kind of it diffused me. That way it took the nonsense of losing a game out of it, and it made it real for me. And we went on with the press conference, which obviously didn't last much longer because no one knew what to ask me after that one.
Right side, second row. Pete.
Frank, Pete Thamel from Sports Illustrated. This is a scenario you probably haven't put a lot of thought to, but if you win 2 games, tradition dictates the winning team here would go visit the White House. I'm curious how you would balance any political leanings versus the tradition and honor of that.
Can you be a little clearer with your question?
Sure.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Would you have any hesitation to visit the White House? Your team is about half immigrants, and
I live in
Okay.
We live in the United States of America. I'm not visiting an individual's home. This is the way I look at it. It's the way I express it to our team. We're visiting the top building that represents the great country that's given every single one of us an opportunity. That's the way I would look at it.
All the way in the back toward the center.
Bill Orban from WSOC in Charlotte. You talked about what Sindarius brings to the basketball court, but what does he bring to the locker room from an energy standpoint, leadership standpoint?
It starts with courage. He makes all those guys understand that we're good enough. And when your best player accepts coaching like he does, it allows you to coach everyone on your team. And then he gives. He doesn't take. He never comes out of practice. Never. I don't care what drill we're doing. I don't care how many times he's done it in his career, will not come out of. He only comes out of practice if I grab him and say, Sin, get out. He won't come out. That's how young players learn, being around someone that never comes out, that understands film work. He grabs young guys and he shows them film and he teaches them how to see film and how to understand film. When you give, you get a lot in return. And that's all he does is he gives. He gives courage, he gives instruction, he gives of himself, Then he goes out on the stage, and here's the other thing he does, which this is, everyone likes to have fun with me and my personality and all that. Here's the other thing that happens. When we're in a game and we're in a huddle, and I'm upset at a younger player because they didn't run the play that was called, so then Sindarius couldn't get the space so he can get a shot in a crucial moment, he will diffuse the huddle because he'll grab me and say, forget it. Tell me what you need me to do to help the young guy. So then I go away from a mistake and focus in on a guy that's trying to help everybody so I can help him help the young guys. He's a stud.
On the left side, just the right of the aisle.
Kirk Wessler from the Journal-Star, Peoria, Illinois. Frank, how did you meet Rudy Keeling for the first time? What did he mean to your career, and what kind of things are you doing today that you took from him?
Yeah, it's. I met Coach Keeling. He had an assistant from Miami named Charlton Young. Charlton is now at Florida State, and they were recruiting our point guard, a young man that ended up going to play for my assistant, Perry Clark, at the University of Miami, and ended up his career transferring to us at Northeastern. But I met Coach through Charlton as they were recruiting Marcus. Marcus told me that he had no interest in going to Northeastern at the time, so I relayed that to Coach. And we developed a little bit of a friendship there because of honesty. A lot of guys would like run the other way. Well, this guy doesn't want to help me with a player, so he's a bum. But he respected the fact that I was honest with him, so he didn't waste his time. And then Charlton left. I believe Charlton took a job at Auburn in August. And Charlton told Coach Keeling, he said, Rudy, if you speak with Frank, I think he is ready to take a job at college. And he called me, and we had a conversation. And he said, you know, Frank, I'm going to think about this a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that I need someone like you on my staff. I ended up buying myself a plane ticket and flew up to Boston. I knew he had a camp going on, and I just showed up, and I wasn't going to let him change his mind. And he offered me a job, hired me, and he did something extremely powerful because he told me, he was honest with me. He said, Frank, we got to win 15 games. If not, we're getting fired. And we won 14, and we got fired. And the AD asked, the athletic director said to me, because it's not like you get fired. You're an assistant making $28,000. It's not like they fire you and they say, hey, we're going to keep you on staff and make sure you can pay your bills. They said, we're sorry about this. Here's 2 weeks' pay. Have a good life. And, you know, the athletic director said, I'm going to do everything I can to convince whoever I hire to keep you. But in the meantime, I don't have a job for you. So that's a great feeling, especially in a city like Boston. It's so cheap to live there. And on $28,000, it's a whole lot of fun to pay your bills when they gave you a 2-week severance pay. And I went in to see Coach, and he said to me, he said, Frank, you don't make any money. If the only job that you can get is this one, it's okay. I'd rather you go work somewhere else because I'm not happy with this right now, but I also want you to understand that if you get hired here, it's not like you're burning a bridge with me. I get it. And 6 weeks later, that's the only job I could land was to go back. Ron Everhart offered me a job 6 weeks later, and Coach Keeling remained a dear friend of mine forever and ever till the day he passed.
In the third row on the left side.
Kevin McCrary, South Carolina Radio Network. You said you've leaned on Bob Huggins and Billy Donovan to help prepare you for your first Final Four. What was their advice to you?
We didn't talk basketball. We talked about all the stuff that kind of prevents you from focusing in on basketball and how they managed it and the mistakes they made in their first time through and how they tried to adjust it every single time that they've both been fortunate to be a part of it. And so I've tried my best. I can't do it the way Hugs does it. I can't do it the way Billy D did it. I've got to do things the way my mind and my personality and based on the way our team is, the way I got to manage it for this team. But that's what happens when you have conversations with people you trust is that it stimulates your mind. It makes you think. It makes you create the ideas. I think the biggest mistake people make is that they try to do things how it works for someone else. Then players read right through your stuff. So I had to take all their suggestions, which the funny part is the biggest distraction for both, and neither one knew that they had said this to me, was dealing with the tickets. That was the biggest distraction. Keep people away from your players, family members, everybody, because of tickets. Deal with it early in the week, put a deadline, and once the deadline's over, it's over. You got to move away from it. And I thought that was great advice, because that is, for kids, that is the biggest distraction. And then we've talked a lot, you know, I tell kids all the time, the hardest thing in life is say no to people you love. Hardest thing. People you care for, say no. It's hard to do as a grown man. It's impossible to do as a teenager. But you got to do that sometimes. And when I say no, I'm not talking about tickets. I'm talking about like the attention. Like, hey man, I want you to come here. Hey, I need you to come over here and take pictures with these people. No, I'm not going to Phoenix to vacation. This is not a family getaway. This is South Carolina going to play basketball with an opportunity to do something special. Can't do it. And I tell kids, this is what I tell kids all the time. If you don't want to be the bad guy, there's a lot of people that think that I'm a bad guy. Just add to the list. I'll be more than happy to be the bad guy.
Up front to the right, Zach.
Zach Braziller, New York Post. About 4 years ago, Chris Silva picked up and left his life, came to America with the dream of, you know, playing the NBA and playing at this level. First part, can you imagine what that must be like to kind of to leave everything behind at that age? And also, what's been your favorite thing about him since you've been with him?
Yeah, you look at my track record, I've coached a lot of foreign kids, and I understand their journey. That's what my family went through. I respect the journey that they're on. I respect the fact that they come here to figure out a way to make a better life so they can do better to help their families. And they go through difficult moments. I'll tell you what the hardest time of year for those kids are, right after Christmas, because most of them don't get to go home to see family. And yeah, they go to someone else's, a teammate's house or whatever, girlfriend's house, whatever it may be. That's someone else's family. And we reconvene after Christmas, and a lot of those foreign guys from other countries, struggle in those couple weeks right after Christmas break. They really do, because that's when they feel lonely. But that's how we run our program. We invest, you know, my wife, our staff, their wives, our children. You know, my kids are around our players all the time. And it's just to make them feel welcome, allow them to understand that this is a lot deeper than basketball. And I couldn't be prouder of Chris. Chris has been, and I said this after the Duke game, I believe, I've been harder on him than anyone on our team, because we need him to be real good for our team to be as good as it can be. And he's not at a place yet from a basketball knowledge to do some of the things that he's eventually going to do. But he doesn't run away from it. He loves it. And, you know, I was real hard on him a practice in the middle of the year, and I could tell that I beat him up a little bit too much. And the next day I called him in. I said, hey, Chris. He said, Coach, that's why I came here, because I want you to help me be great. I felt better. I said, but still, I don't need to beat you up that way. And he said, don't worry about it, Coach. We're okay. And he's phenomenal. He's just absolutely great to be around.
Final question, just to the left of the aisle.
Rick Henry, WIS-TV, Columbia, South Carolina. Frank, how well did the guys adapt to shooting at baskets located in the middle of a football stadium today?
The wall seems a whole lot further than it does at our gym, I'll tell you that. It was interesting seeing the guys out there today shooting balls, you know, and listening to them. It's like, God, you know, it looks different. But we'll have an opportunity to shoot some balls in here again tomorrow. I don't know. I never got the opportunity to shoot in a place like this, so I wouldn't know what any different. Heck, the way I shot, I was setting screens and taking charges. I wasn't worried about shooting the ball, but it'll be fine. Kids are players, man. We go out to a park right now and play on 8-foot rims. First couple seconds, it takes a little while, and eventually everyone adapts and shoots the ball in the basket. I know this, Gonzaga and us, neither one of us has an advantage with that one. We're both going through it for the first time. So hopefully, if it affects us, hopefully it affects them too.
We'd like to thank Coach Martin for joining us. Coach, we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning.
You got it, guys.
Next, ladies and gentlemen, the Gonzaga locker room is open from 12:15 to 12:40. Main interview room with Coach Mark Few of Gonzaga, 12:45 to 1:05.